What's up, guys? It is July, so that means we have to predict the Oscar nominations for the month of July. I didn't think the summer was going to be that exciting or that much changing until, TIFF in September, but July had a lot of stuff come out. So let's start with Best Picture: Sing Sing, Doom Part 2, Anora, Conclave, Queer, Blitz, Joker 2, Nickel Boys, The Piano Lesson, and Amelia Perez. I moved Sing Sing up to number one. I've just been hearing really good things about it, and I did hear someone say, last year wasn't about the feel-good movie, but a lot of times the Oscar voters love that, and this movie might be the feel-good movie for this year. So I put it number one. I put Dune number two, because I feel like Dune is going to be one of those ones that dominates nominations, but just doesn't. I don't know if it's going to secure the Best Picture win. We'll have to wait and see and kind of let it play out. I mean, it's hard now, too, because, Doom was so long ago, it feels like, that let's hope. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to keep in the conversation to get nominations. Let's hope it can stay in the conversation for wins. Anora had its trailer, and I'm keeping it number three, but I can see this going higher. The trailer was very strong. Reviews of Cannes were pretty high, so I'm excited to see this movie. This Neon has a good track record, like I've mentioned in previous videos. So I'm thinking they can pull out the nomination definitely, and let's see if they can pull out the win. Another movie that had its trailer come out this month was Conclave, and this seems like a very Oscar-y movie. Very screenplay nomination is locked. It seemed very dialogue-y. It seemed very classic Oscars. But I heard it's more of a thriller, so let's see if that. The base of the trailer seems very classic Oscars, but let's see once the movie comes out. All the performances look good. It seemed from the trailer like everyone's gonna get a moment. So I can see Conclave being a big contender, and Edward Berger's previous film All Quiet on the Western Front really dominated the Oscars. It had 9 nominations. It won 4. It had a very big presence. So I had it high before the trailer, and people love the book. So I think if they can adapt this right, this could be a big movie for the Oscars. Like I said, I had it high before the trailer, and now the trailer it kept at its spot. I think I actually might have moved it up 1 or 2. Next is Queer. The more I'm reading about this, the more it does seem like an Oscar movie as well. And I think now that we've started to award a little more not traditional Oscar movies, this seems like an Oscar type story, Oscar type movie. They say it's 3 hours long, a lot of sex scenes, but I think the Academy is now okay with that and willing to give it a lot of nominations and even awards. So I do think this is going to be bigger than people are expecting. I think this might get a lot of nominations throughout the board, above the line and below the line. And Luca Guadagnino, I think having challengers, even though, and that was our last video, I really kind of focused on that, being can challengers and Queer both be recognized? Which one's gonna be more? Can it be equal? Is which one's less? Can both of them even get it? And I think that still stands. Where I think challengers it raised his name. Now, if this comes out and it just blows people away, it's premiering at Venice, I believe. I think that will also. I think almost challengers would be a look at what he can do in 1 year. He has both great movies. I do think Queer is going to be a stronger contender for the Oscars. I think challengers might get a few things here and there, but I think overall, I think challengers are going to help project Queer to a higher level of Oscar nominations, even wins. But we'll really see in Venice when it comes out, when it premieres there, to see what the reviews are. So a movie that I kind of really want to talk about is Blitz. It came out that it's going to premiere at the London Film Festival, but it also came out that it's going to be in limited theaters, I think, for a few weeks, and then go directly to Apple TV Plus, and stream there. And that makes me. Doesn't mean that it's out of contention. It makes me a little nervous. There's been Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, which they Killers of the Flower Moon got a bunch of nominations. Napoleon got some, but they were trying to push for a Oscar campaign. And then there are even movies like Argylle and Fly Me to the Moon that recently came out. And those weren't Oscar contenders, but they put them out in theaters first. And I just don't understand the reasoning why Blitz all of a sudden they're not putting in theaters. Is it that they don't have the confidence to put it out? I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, Hans Zimmer's making the score. You have Steve McQueen, who has had movies been nominated before and had big Oscar nominations. It confuses me. It seems like a very Oscar-y movie about war, and it's just the story seems like, oh, that would be an Oscar contender on paper. It just kind of concerns me that they're doing this. And I like I said, that could mean nothing, and it still could be like Coda, that was only streaming, and still be nominated for Best Picture and even win. But Coda was during kind of the pandemic still, so it made more sense. I just it makes me nervous. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I don't know if they're going to change their mind. It's just why. I don't know if they've realized that like maybe spending all this money on theatrical is just not worth it, and they're just going to do a little bit to qualify for the Oscars, and then just put it on streaming and let it blow up there. I don't know if they're just trying to change their strategy or if they don't have confidence, but we have to wait and see. And I'm not sure when the London Film Festival is, but I mean the movie's coming out in November, so I mean we'll see in November definitely if it's a well reviewed movie. But it just seems like that type of story, and it has like Saoirse Ronan in it, and it just has a lot of things that would think, oh, that's an Oscar movie, or at least they're gonna try. I did drop it down in a bunch of categories. I'm not taking it out, obviously. It's still a contender, but I did drop it down in my lists for a few categories. Next is Joker 2. Joker 2 is a little confusing. I've said it on previous videos. I think the first one got so much love, and like there's very few times where the sequel gets more love, except for like Godfather and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. I think it can still get a lot of love because it's not going to be the same thing. They're introducing, instead of like Martin Scorsese movies, they're doing an homage to like musicals, and there's the Lady Gaga element now. That's something new that they can kind of focus on. It's kind of hard to pinpoint how much love they are going to give it. So I still think it's not going to be on the list, but it's more of a once it comes out at Venice, it's a better picture to kind of paint. Number 8 is Nickel Boys. I'm not 100% sure on this. I don't really know much about the movie, but it does seem like a type of movie that would be nominated for Best Picture. I can see there are certain elements that I can see it getting to Best Picture. The director had a previous movie of his get nominated for Best Documentary a few years ago. It's released by Amazon and MGM, so like they have they do good campaigns. I don't exactly know where to play this. I think once it maybe premieres or if it goes to the festivals, it'll be easier to see where it's gonna fall. It's based on like a award-winning book, which I think, and people love the book. So I think if it captures the book, it can get a lot of like it can have a good campaign. I think it can kind of help with that campaign. The only thing that makes me want to wait and see, I put it kind of lower, is because the director, like I said, was nominated for a Best Documentary a few years ago for his movie. It's his first narrative feature directorial debut, and I feel like I have to see the movie, or at least hear other people's takes on the movie. Number 9 is The Pianist, and I feel like things that go from Broadway to the movies have a hit or miss track record, but I have it in so many other categories that I feel like I have to put in Best Picture. People love the play, and they pretty much brought back a lot of the actors as well. So I think that's good for the movie, and it's for its campaign. Finally, at number 10, I have Amelia Perez. I didn't put it last month. I had because I do think there's gonna be a foreign film, so I want to try and start predicting what foreign film is gonna be there. I had The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which is now at number 11. Because I did feel like the talk about it kind of disappeared a little bit, but the talk about Amelia Perez has really increased. And coming out of Cannes, I just feel like the reviews weren't that great. It did win Best Actress for all the actresses in the movie, but I just wasn't getting. It seemed like people were mixed on it, but now post Cannes, I think, and the trailer came out, and I think the talk about it has become more positive, that I do think that it has a chance to get into Best Picture and possibly some other awards. I think this could be, it's Netflix. Netflix does put on a very good campaign, so I do have faith for this movie to be in Best Picture and other nominations. The Seed of the Sacred Fig is at number 11. Number 12 is Night Bitch. It's premiering at TIFF. I can't tell if it's going to be too weird for the Academy. It's about a woman becoming like a dog, and it's about maternal instincts and stuff like that. I feel like I can't tell if it's more just going to be for Amy Adams, or if the movie as a whole can get some other stuff and have a good campaign to kind of have a good package to get a lot of nominations. They have good people surrounding this movie, like Amy Adams, the director, stuff like that. And they took it out of a Hulu release into a theatrical release, so it seems like they're confident about it. And like I said about like Queer, I feel like the Academy is becoming more accustomed to being okay with like weird movies, even though like Queer wasn't weird. It's just more of like there's like it's a very long movie with a lot of sex scenes. I feel like they become okay with that, and I feel like especially now that Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture, they're okay with like really kooky type movies, and it sounds like Night Bitch is going to be like that. So it'd be interesting to see like what path it takes. I think a trailer will really help this movie. I think if the trailer comes out and it's really good, I think it's going to keep building the momentum for the movie. Number 13 is here. The trailer. They released some pictures. The trailer came out. I feel like this, I can't tell if it's old Robert Zemeckis or new Robert Zemeckis, and that is making me not kind of hard to like pinpoint where this is going to go. If he can do something really cool with the, one shot and make it still feel really lively, maybe. I just can see it also being very just mid. And so the trailer interests me. I'm excited for it. I just don't know if it will excite the Oscar voters. I definitely think it will pop up more in a few more categories that I'll explain more why I think it's a better chance for like maybe some tech stuff than Best Picture. But yeah, I think everyone's kind of like mixed on here right now, and they have to like wait to see the movie. I don't know if it's premiering at a festival yet, or just when it comes out. I think it's in November, so we'll see. Number 14, Jury Number 2. I'm just leaving this on because it's Clint Eastwood. Could be his last movie. I mean, people are saying that like Toni Collette's gonna get nominated. Like he's also like a hit or miss, Clint Eastwood. So if this is like one of his like good movies, I can see the path to Best Picture. We need a trailer for this also. I think no one really knows much about it. Has a very interesting concept of a juror serving on a murder trial realizes he may be at fault for the victim's death. Very interesting if it's done correctly. So, and I have number 15 for Challengers. Like I said, I think Challengers is more of the stepping stone for Luca Guadagnino's path for Queer to be really big. But I don't know, something about this movie. It was a very, I feel like it kind of resonated with like older audiences and younger audiences, which I think I can see the Academy wanting to recognize that, but it might just be in other categories. So that's why it's at the bottom of the list. Okay, Best Director. I still have Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. I do feel like this is going to be one of those years where it might be a split director picture. I don't think it's going to be 1-for-1. If Dune can pick up the momentum again during its campaign, I can see it then being Dune and Denis Villeneuve, but they stumped it before. I just feel like this is a time for this movie. People are really talking about him. Number 2 is Anora. Won the Palme d'Or. I mean, I just feel like this, and people are saying that this is like Sean Baker's time to at least be nominated. People are even saying to even win. So I have to have it up there. Like I said, Queer I think is going to be bigger than people are thinking right now. And I think Luca Guadagnino, I don't think he's ever been nominated, so this might be, it seems like it's like a lot. It seems like this year is a lot of like, it's their time. It's a great movie, and also it's their time, so let's like put him in director. But director is very tricky. There's always a snub somewhere. They always add a bunch of people. Conclave, Edward Berger. I just feel like if he pulls this off with this movie, it's as good as All Quiet on the Western Front. They'll give him the nomination. He wasn't nominated for All Quiet on the Western Front, but I think that was the way the scheduling was, and I think if like voting was during the time where it started to blow up, I think he might have gone into the Best Director category. And finally, like I said, I lowered them. They were higher with Steve McQueen for Blitz. I just want to wait and see. There's just a weird feeling in the Apple TV Plus release schedule where it's not going in theaters and then Apple TV Plus. That makes me just feel weird about this movie. I'm still putting him in there. He has been nominated before, 12 Years a Slave. I do think he can do a really good job with this. I can see him getting in there. I just have to put him towards the bottom because I don't know really where this movie's going right now. I feel like the news about it's not like confident about the movie, but I still can see this being a very good movie and he can get in there. It's just I think people are getting scared by this news, me included. This might seem very weird to put Sing Sing at number 6, but I have it at number 1 in Best Picture. The reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like Sing Sing and Anora are fighting for that same like small indie movie director spot. And there's been cases where like the person wins Best Picture and they're not even nominated for Best Director. Ben Affleck, Argo won, and and he wasn't even nominated for Best Director. And I am not opposed to putting this back in the 5. Just right now, I think having 2 for the same type of movie, I just don't think there's always snubs, and I can see Sing Sing being that big snub and be like, wow, the front runner for Best Picture isn't nominated for Best Director. I think if anyone's gonna get taken out, it might be Steve McQueen, but I just feel like he's a very, like, this movie just seems like a very Oscar-y movie that it's gonna get a lot of nominations. So Sing Sing's at number 6, Joker 2 is at number 7. Like I said, I don't know how much love they're gonna give this movie. It's gonna be easier to kind of tell about the direction of it once some people start to see it. But like I said, they're going in a different direction. If he can make it different enough with the musicals, I can see them thinking about giving it to him. He's gotten it for Joker 1, so we'll have to see. Amelia Perez, if this movie gets a lot of nominations there and they start to go all in on this movie, because the chatter is very high right now, if it stays and the momentum keeps growing and growing, it's hard for musicals in general for like Best Picture or just the Oscars in general. That some of the genres just are hard to get, and if this movie, I've heard that it is a different type of musical. If it gets in, I can see, I could see a path where Emily Perez gets nominated for Best Director. Night Bitch, like I said, I just have to wait and see if the Academy decides they do really like this movie and want to give it a lot of nominations. I can see her getting it because she pulled off that fine balance of being weird but yet very not too weird, like Everything Ever All at Once. If they can balance it really well, I can see them wanting to recognize her. And finally, at number 10, I have the director for Room Next Door. He has got, his other movies have gotten always like surprise nominations, and this is, from what I've heard, this is his first English language film. And a lot of times they do like when a foreign director goes to the English language, they give it more, not more praise, but more recognition at the Oscars. So if they really like this movie, I can see them giving it Best Director. I can see it getting a lot of surprise nominations. They've only usually given him it's usually acting categories, so I can see more the actors definitely getting it, and that's why they're higher on my list. But if they really go for The Room Next Door, I can see them wanting to recognize him as well. Best Actress, I still have Lady Gaga number 1. I do feel like they said she's playing a very different Harley Quinn. I think that will be like the shining star from the Joker 2. If it doesn't get as many nominations, if it gets 1, that's the one it's gonna get. Angelina Jolie for Maria. I mean, it has a good track record with Spencer and Jackie. That director who did those 2 movies as well gets his actors nominated. I have Mikey Madsen. I had her lower, I believe, last month. But I raised her up because I did see the trailer, and she did give a convincing, it seemed like she's going to have a very strong performance in this film, and I heard from reviews as well that she does. I had number 4, Amy Adams for Night Bitch. It all depends on how they told that line. Can they pull off the crazy story? Can it all work? So if it can work, she's there. If not, I think she's going to fall off. And for Amy Adams, I mean, she is getting awarded the TIFF Tribute Performer Award, and the recent winners of that award have had very good paths and even won and gone all the way in their path to an Oscar. In 2019, Joaquin Phoenix was given the award. He won the Oscar. In 2020, Anthony Hopkins was given the award. He won the Oscar. In 2021, Jessica Chastain got the award. She won the Oscar. In 2022, Brendan Fraser got the award, won the Oscar. And in 2023, Coleman Domingo got it for Sing Sing. Sing Sing wasn't eligible that year, but that year he got nominated for Rustin. So I don't think Amy Adams is... I do think this is like, if the movie doesn't get well received, she still will be like the Glenn Close in Hillbilly Elegy. That is a pretty interesting statistic. And then I had Saoirse Ronan very high. I think it had at number 3. I lowered her. Like I said, I'm not counting it out. I'm just lowering it to lower the expectations of Blitz possibly getting snubbed in certain places. But I mean, she has a great track record, so that's also why I'm not taking her out. She's been nominated for many films. I think she's been nominated for 4 Oscars already, so the Academy likes her. Also, I know her other movie, The Outrun, just was a Sony Picture Classics is going to release that, and that comes in for North America, and that comes out on October 4th of this year. So we may see a double nomination for her. I don't know if she's lead in that one or supporting, but if it's supporting, we could see a Scarlett Johansson type, Kate Winslet type of nomination where it's both movies get praised. Like I said, because she's so loved by the Academy. So that's something to consider as well. Like I said, The Room Next Door always gets a surprise. Like, people aren't really expecting it, and then it's like, oh, one of that director's movies gets nominated for in the acting categories. I have Tilda Swinton at number 6 for that reason. Carla Sofia Garcon for Emilia Perez. Her, Zoe Saldana, and Selena Gomez won Best Actress at Cannes. I feel like I'm reading that I don't know exactly whose movie it is, if it's hers or Zoe Saldana's, but I can see her having a better path to the Oscars. I heard she has a stronger performance with it, and also I think they're putting Zoe Saldana in supporting to give her that boost, I believe. Then I have Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths. This director's movies has gotten acting nominations. He is liked by the Academy in like screenplay and acting. But it's for Bleecker. Bleecker is very bad at getting Oscar nominations. They don't really put on good for your consideration campaigns. So I'm putting it out of the 5, but with a possibility of going into the 5. I'm putting Zendaya at number 9. I just think her star power could get her the nomination. If it's going to get any above the line, it's going to be her. But the more movies that are getting released, the more like talk about, who's getting nominated, stuff like that. She's going down and down the list, which isn't great. But come when the campaigns start really gearing up, if they push her hard enough, and she gets out there in campaigns, I can kind of see it, and I wouldn't be shocked. It wouldn't be like, well, I didn't see that coming at all. I'm not saying it's gonna happen 100%, but I wouldn't be shocked. And finally, I have at number 10 Robin Wright for Here. Like I said, if it's more of the Forrest Gump type of Robert Zemeckis that they loved and he got many nominations, many wins, they might want to recognize everyone of how, like, if it's well received and well received because of how creative it is, I think they might want to recognize everyone who was a participant in that. Best Actress sort of has stayed the same, except I have Colin Domingo number 1, Daniel Craig for Queer, number 2, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, Joaquin Phoenix, and then I had Sebastian Stan. I haven't heard anything about The Apprentice anymore after Cannes, and especially after it was possible that it wasn't going to get released this year. There's been that information where one of the producers is I think like a donor or supporter of Trump. So I don't think he wants to put it out. And I think they need everyone's agreement on how to release this movie, and I think he's holding back to get it not released either this year or at all. So that's a whole thing in itself. So if this doesn't come out, I think The Apprentice has lost all of its steam because of all the kind of like gossip surrounding it, and it kind of went like radio silence. I haven't really heard anything about it, which is a shame because I heard Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong were very good, but I kind of had to take it out of everything. Like I said, he's at number 6 because if in case it gets released, and I think. Even if it gets released and it doesn't have that much of Oscar luck, I feel like he can maybe pop in there. But as of right now, I'm just taking everything out of the top 5. I put in Paul Bettany for the collaboration. He's playing Andy Warhol. I do feel like the acting categories doesn't always go with Best Picture and stuff like that. I do think there's usually one nomination that it gets in acting, and that's it. And I feel like it's been done before. It's like they're playing a famous figure, and William Dafoe did it for Van Gogh. I feel like he could possibly, if he's very good in this movie, and if the movie's well received and he's very good in it, I can see them trying to push for him and he can get like the solo nomination for that film. Like I said, Sebastian Stan number 6 for The Apprentice, Andre Holland for the actor. I heard he's very good in that movie. Nicholas Hoult, jury number 2. Once the trailer comes out and people, if that becomes a movie that is an Oscar contender, I can see him definitely being on there. John David Washington for The Piano Lesson, and then Tom Hanks for Here, same as Robin Wright for Best Actress. Sebastian Stan does have another movie called A Different Man, and I see people are like praising him for that as well and like putting that on some lists. I don't necessarily know if I want to put him on that list yet. I think it's more of like I see it as a makeup nomination. Best Supporting Actress, I have Danielle Deadwyler for Piano Lesson. I feel like the Academy is going to make up for snubbing her in Till, so I have her as number 1. Number 2, Anjanou Ellis Taylor for Nickel Boys. I think I read that she's playing a different role than people thought. I think if the movie has a big Oscar present, I think if they have a good campaign, she can get on there. I think a lot of these people, even if they have a lot of these people on this list, even if they have small roles, if it's memorable, they can get on there. It can be like the Viola Davis in Doubt. If they are memorable in that one scene they're in, I can see them getting nomination. Number 3, Toni Collette. People haven't even seen this movie and they're saying she's gonna get nominated. So I guess from what people have heard, she must be very good in it. She has been nominated since The Sixth Sense. So Leslie Manville for Queer, like I said, I think it's gonna be a big. They're gonna recognize a lot of people in this movie. A lot of people aren't in. She's not in a lot of people's top fives, but I just feel like, if it gets if it gets for Daniel Craig for possible director, I think if this movie comes out strong out of the gate at Venice, and have like the leverage of challengers to be like, look, he did 2 great movies, to just push this movie forward, I can see her getting in. And Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. In the trailer, it seemed like she has a small part, and I've read, I think, in the book she has a small part. But like I said, with the kind of Viola Davis effect, if she's very memorable in that film, if she has that one scene, that one Oscar clip, I can see her getting nominated. Number 6, Julianne Moore for The Room Next Door. Same reason for Tilda Swinton. I just, could be a surprise nomination. Zoe Saldana for Emily Perez. If they're really going to go all in at Emily Perez, I can see them giving, multiple nominations in the acting categories as well. Connie Nielsen for Gladiator 2. I heard the footage out of CinemaCon. She was a standout, along with Denzel Washington. We'll talk about him in a sec. And the trailer came out. She really wasn't in the trailer. I do feel like this movie is going to be more like Napoleon, where it gets technicals, but they might get a few acting. I don't think it's going to be as big as the first movie, winning Best Picture and all that. I could be wrong. It could be this big thing. I just am not getting that vibe from it right now. Number 9, Natasha Lyonne. They already started their campaign for this movie. I just don't see her. It doesn't seem like... I heard she's very good in this movie. It just doesn't... It's going to be on Netflix in September. I just don't see her going into the 5. I think a lot of people are going to talk about her, and she's going to be that one, can she make it, and she ends up not. I just don't see it for some reason. I don't see her getting a nomination. And then number 10, Selena Gomez. Really, if they really want to love Amelia Perez, they'll probably give her an Oscar nomination, but that's a very unlikely thing. Best Supporting Actor, I have Samuel Jackson for The Piano Lesson. Heard I think he got rave reviews. Either got nominated or won the Tony for The Piano Lesson when it was on Broadway, and he's reprising it, and I feel like that's gonna have a good... I feel like people are gonna like that, and if he does a good job, they'll really appreciate that. Number 2, Clarence Macklin. I don't think Paul Raci's gonna be like the supporting one. I know he's in the trailers for Sing Sing and stuff like that, but I think they're gonna really push Clarence Macklin. I heard he's incredible in this movie, and they do like to nominate first time people. Number 3, I finally put Kieran Culkin in for Best Supporting Actor, also because Jeremy Strong came out, because who knows if that's coming out. But I watched the trailer for Real Pain, and I see what people have been talking about, where they're saying his performance is really good. But yeah, the trailer really solidified. I was like, oh, that he does look very good in that, so I'll put him in. Number 4, Stanley Tucci. I think Conclave is going to be an acting movie. I think it's going to, Best Ensemble at SAG and stuff like that. I think this will be an acting movie that they recognize the actors. And then right now I have Denzel Washington at number 5. Out of the trailer, he's getting the best word of mouth. I heard that the word of mouth is great out of the CinemaCon footage they saw also. Also, the Academy loves Denzel Washington. If this movie is decent and he does a good job, I feel like I can see him being like the Nicole Kidman of... Even if he's good, even if he's really good, he's the one where it's like the legacy nomination, where it's like the Nicole Kidman does a movie, she gets nominated. Meryl Streep does a movie, gets nominated. He is that high caliber of an actor. So, and from what I heard, he's great in the movie. Like I said, number 6, Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. Who knows if it's coming out. Unfortunately, I had to put Austin Butler out of the 5 for Dune Part 2. I feel like the talk I am still hearing about Dune isn't about the acting. It's about the technical stuff and directing and picture. He's still young, so they might not give it to him because he can get other nominations. He was already nominated before. Number 8, John Lithgow. If they really want to love Conclave, he could probably get in there. Depending on how, like I said, Queer was going to be a big movie, but if it's really big and getting a lot of nominations and I don't think this is going to happen, but if it's the most nominated film of that year, Drew Skarsgård is going to get it because he is the person opposite Daniel Craig. And how can you recognize a movie that big and not give it to him? But I don't think that's going to happen. That's why he's lower on the list. And then I'm taking a real gamble. It's still early. I'm putting Nicolas Cage at number 10. He was the most Nicolas Cage I've ever seen him, but in a great way. Longlegs is incredible. And I think if Neon... I know Neon's a little busy with Anora, but if they can also push Longlegs for this and Screenplay, I can sort of see one of those get in. I'm taking kind of a guess right now. Original Screenplay, Anora at number 1. Real Pain, number 2. Blitz number 3, Challenger number 4, A Seed of Sacred Fig. The screenplays I feel like are going to go through some changes throughout the months. Right now I do feel like Anora is the highest. won the Palme d'Or. It's just when you win something, I feel like you're automatically just like putting it in there. So I feel like I can't not. It's like pretty self-explanatory why that's in there, and it looks like a good movie. So Sean Baker's only gotten one other nomination, I believe, for just William Dafoe for the Florida Project. So let's see if hopefully this can get him a lot more nominations for his movie. A Real Pain seems like a best original screenplay type movie. I said if anything, the movie's getting best original screenplay, and now that I have him in best supporting actor, I'm definitely leaving it in there. Number 3, Blitz. I still think even if it's like I said, it's a very like classic. It sounds like a very classic Oscar movie, a war movie, stuff like that. I think even if it's not as big as people are thinking going into the Oscar doesn't get as many nominations, I do think screenplay is one of them they're going to get. Challengers kind of a whim right now. Like I said, we're still early. I feel like using it as like it's not your average sports movie could help its campaign for screenplay and how creative it is, but will they recognize both queer? It's one of those things where is queer going to just outshine Challengers and it gets nothing? Because it's the same director, same writer, all that stuff. So we'll have to see. And then See the Sacred Fig. I do think that while I took it at Best Picture, screenplay is still an option for it. Hard Truth, I can also see it switching with Hard Truths because they like that director. They really like his movies for screenplay. He's gotten a lot of screenplay nominations. The Room Next Door, I kind of explained why I think that could be possible spoilers. Jury Number 2, depending if it's a well-received movie, could get up there. Kinds of Kindness, the only nomination it can get. I don't think it's going to get it, but the only nomination it could get, it's a screenplay or bust situation. So, and then like I said just before, Long Legs Number 10. I also think the big box office helped it stay relevant. It's going to keep helping it stay relevant, and I'm hoping that Neon... I don't know if Neon's have been pushing 2 movies very hard. I don't know if there's been multiple movies in the same year. I think that's always A24's issue. They kind of pick one and go with it. They don't kind of campaign a bunch of movies. So we'll have to see. They're very hard for horror at the Oscars, but I feel like this could peek in. It might just be my favoritism for the movie, but I do think there's a path, very, very slight path of it getting in. Best Adapted Screenplay. I have Sing Sing at number 1, Conclave number 2, Dune Part 2 number 3, Queer number 4, and The Piano Lesson number 5. Sing Sing, I just think it's been getting great reviews. For the stuff I have it in, it's mostly number 1, so I think it would be a natural thing to put Adapted Screenplay at number 1. Conclave, it's based on a book. I heard the book is incredible. If they can recreate that magic that everyone says the book is, I can see them getting a nomination. Like I said before earlier, it's a very talky movie. The First Doom's nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, so I can see it getting it again because I think people really liked the story, got better. Queer and the Piano Lessons from Broadway, very talky, so I can see that. And Queer, like I said, if I think people are gonna go really big for this movie. And if they like the story, they're going to give it Best Adapted Screenplay. Nickel Boys, sort of like Conclave, it's based on a really popular book, so if they can capture that, I can see them giving it to it. Night Bitch, if they can get that, if they can really balance that weird and like drama, I could, because the screenplays are where you can kind of get creative with like who you nominate. This is where the genres come into play. Emily Perez, if it really is a different kind of musical, I can see that. Joker got adapted screenplay back in 2019, so there is a possibility it could get adapted screenplay now. And Hitman, it's a very creative idea, and like I said, this is where those like ones that like it's not gonna get Best Picture or anything else. It comes into play, more comedies, more superhero, more horror come into play with the screenplay, and this did have a really good screenplay, so I can see it getting that if it's going to get anything. Best Animated Feature, Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Lord of the Rings, Wallace and Gromit, Moana 2, pretty much all the same. Piece by Piece, it just seems like a very weird concept, but they might love it at the Oscars. A documentary by Legos. Spellbound is the director of Shrek, and Alan Menken is also doing the music, so I feel like that could be something. Ori and the Dark, Flow, Kung Fu Panda 4. The bottom half could easily change a lot. Okay, Best Editing, Doom Part 2, Sing Sing, Conclave, Blitz, and Queer. All of those are also in my Best Picture, so that's why editing does really correlate with Best Picture a lot of times, especially the nominations. Sometimes the winner won't be like the Best Picture winner, but the nominations are usually all in Best Picture. I have challengers, Joker 2, Here, Honora, and Emily Perez for possible spoilers in it, 6 through 10. Here, I don't think it's going to get cinematography because it's one shot or one angle, but I think if they're very clever with the way they do the kind of the panels over one over the other, like I said, if it's creative, I can see it getting editing. But I don't see getting cinematography, like, because that one's just gonna be one shot, unless they do something crazy. But I don't see that being like recognized as like, wow, that was like great for that year, just one shot. But I do think the different stories overlaying with each other and how they edit that together to make a cohesive movie could be a possible, interest with the Academy and get a nomination. Best makeup and hair. I have Beetlejuice #1. The first one won. It's weirdly also opening the Venice Film Festival, so I feel like they're really going to push this movie. Doesn't mean that's going to get anything outside of like hair, makeup, maybe another technical or something, maybe production design or something, but like the previous openers were like Gravity, Birdman, Everest, La La Land, Downsizing, First Man, The Truth, The Ties, Parallel Mothers, White Noise. So that doesn't really mean that it's going to be like, oh, that's interesting. Should we be looking at Beetlejuice more? I think it's more of like they are confident in this movie, and I think it's definitely going to get hair, makeup, and production design. Definitely hair and makeup, though. Yeah. So, Dune Part 2, obviously, I think the first one was nominated, and I just think it's going to get nominated for every technical. A Different Man, the makeup looked very interesting for that. Night Bitch, if they can pull off her transformation into a dog, it could be interesting. Wicked, depending on the reception, how good the quality, like how much production value they have in that movie. I mean, it looks like it's going to have a lot of production value, but I can see if Wicked's going to get anything, it's going to get hair and makeup because it's kind of that fantasy look. Joker could possibly sneak in there. Nosferatu, if they could definitely do something with that. The trailer looked incredible. I don't think it's Oscar, like Best Picture and all that stuff, but definitely some technical stuff, so that's why I have it in here. Blitz, it's a war movie, period piece. Gladiator 2, and I have The Substance, like a body horror one. Crimes of the Future, shortlisted, so I can definitely see it maybe shortlisted. I don't think it's going to get it, that's why it's very low, but I can see it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's shortlisted, and kind of pull the same like path that Crimes of the Future did. Best visual effects, I have Doom Part 2 at #1, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes #2, Mufasa the Lion King #3, Gladiator 2 at #4, and Twisters #5. Obviously Doom Part 2, because like I said, like a lot of technical awards are going to come with that movie. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was praised for their visual effects. Mufasa, the first one, got in. Did the first one win? No, but it was nominated. And I can see them easily putting that in there. And Gladiator 2, the effects look very grand, look very good. Napoleon got it last year, I believe it was. So, Ridley Scott movies have a good track record for that, those big epic ones. And then I had Alien Romulus at #5 because the visual effects are incredible and I can see it getting in there. But the more I thought about it, I put Twister at #5 because the original got nominated for Best Visual Effects, and I feel like they can do so much more with it. Furiosa, maybe. I think Furiosa is pretty much done with the Oscars, except for maybe sound. I can see it maybe getting in there, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Here, possibly, but there's like an AI kind of controversy with that movie that they used like AI like live on set to like render their faces right then and there. But if it's not, I think if people can get over that, I can see it getting nominated. Blitz, they like to nominate. Blitz and Joker, they kind of like to nominate, movies that are in Best Picture category. And I think though that Dune Part 2 and then those two are the only ones that, as of right now, that I predict will be in there. Blitz, it's a war movie. I can kind of see that. War movies like 1917, 1, and 2019. The war movies do get nominated a lot. Just because of their scope and how much they're, it's like the little details they're adding. Actually, I'm going to change my number 10. I'm going to change to Deadpool and Wolverine. I know it's been a big controversy of like how the film looks from the trailers, but I feel like they may just be working on the movie while the trailers are coming out, so it's going to look different in the film. I feel like Marvel movies a lot of times get nominated. So I'm going to put that #10. And finally, Best Sound. Doom Part 2, like I said, I'm going to say a lot. I feel like now, especially now that we're kind of gearing up a little more and more, Doom Part 2, I feel like I'm putting in almost every tech category. Furiosa, I feel like it's the one category it has to be nominated. I think it really fell off a cliff and just no one talks about it anymore. Joker, because it's a musical. Blitz, war movie, bombs, all that stuff. Twisters, the first one's nominated for Sound. a lot of sounds with the disaster movies. So that's my top 5, but then below the 5 that, are possible spoilers and can maybe creep up into the top 5. Emily Perez, musical Alien. First 2 were previously nominated as well. Gladiator 2 being like the, Coliseum movie, a lot of action. Challengers, that could be like a surprise. I feel like the score, the sound, I think people really were impressed by that. Quiet Place, I'm just throwing that in there because they play with the sound. It's like different than the other ones because there is a big action sequences, but then really small, quiet moments and stuff like that. So yeah, those are my Oscar predictions for July. So we have one more month, which is August, and then come September we have TIFF. So we'll see what comes out of that. Anything new that changes, it's definitely going to change. I feel like up until like September, we're still early out. So come September, that is I feel like that's like we kick into high gear, and that is the real start, like fast-paced award season. What do you think of those predictions? What are your predictions? Leave them down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Cheers.